Hello, I'm Ted Grantham, a Cooperative Extension Specialist at UC Berkeley. I'll be giving a brief overview presentation of climate change in the North Coast region of California, drawing from the state's fourth climate assessment. What is the climate assessment? The fourth assessment is part of California's comprehensive strategy to take action to safeguard California from climate change. It was designed to address critical information gaps that decision makers need at the state, regional, and local levels to understand climate vulnerabilities and guide climate adaptation planning. And you can find a lot of resources at that website shown at the bottom of the slide. The fourth assessment is a compilation of many separate technical studies and reports, including 44 technical reports, 9 regional reports from the state, and 3 topical reports that addressed climate vulnerabilities for ocean and coastal communities, tribal and indigenous communities, and climate justice. The North Coast report focused on the unique climate change threats facing the North Coast region, which encompasses Humboldt, Mendocino, Del Norte, Siskiyou, Trinity, and Lake counties. This represents about 12% of the state's area, but only supports about 1% of California's population. I led the fourth assessment report for the North Coast region, but this was really a collaborative product that benefited from many contributing authors, as well as stakeholder advisors who are listed here. This diagram summarizes the contents of the North Coast report. It begins with a brief introduction of how the emissions of greenhouse gases are disrupting global climate systems, and then focuses on the changes in specific physical processes. It then goes on to describe some of the implications of these changes for both natural systems and working landscapes, as well as
Our report does not cover the basic science of global warming or how we measure the effects of greenhouse gas emissions on climate change. If you're interested in those topics, I refer you to the National Climate Assessment or the Global Climate Change Assessments conducted by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or the IPCC. But one really important concept to understand is that different emission scenarios have been modeled to predict the effects of climate change in the future. These are often referred to as representative concentration pathways, or RCPs. So there are some scenarios, some RCP scenarios that reflect a future in which the United States and other industrialized nations commit to rapid decarbonization of the economy, which produces an emission scenario that follows this RCP 2.6 trend shown in green on this graph. In contrast, the business as usual scenario continues the trend of increasing global carbon emissions following this RCP 8.5 in red, and is associated with the most significant climate change impacts in the region and globally. For example, here are the model projections of annual average maximum temperatures for the North Coast region. This represents the daily maximum temperatures averaged across the year and across the region. What we see here is that under the moderate emission scenario, shown here in blue, temperatures increase by about 4 degrees, while under the higher emission scenarios, temperatures increase by about 8 degrees by end of century. Looking at this range of temperatures, you might not think that change would be very significant, but when we take a closer look at what this means for high heat days in particular, we get a different perspective. These maps show the predicted change in annual mean maximum temperature across the region over 30-year periods until about 2100. What we see is by the end of century, much of the region is expected to experience maximum temperatures that are about 10 degrees warmer than what was historically the hottest day. So if we are currently experiencing the hottest day of the year around 100 or 110 degrees, we're going to start seeing temperatures that are closer to 110 to 120 degrees by end of century. So clearly this is a significant change for our region. This also means that we're going to be seeing more high heat days, generally speaking. And so if we look at Ukiah, for example, historically, Ukiah experienced about 12 days per year of high heat days, in this case defined over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, where in the future this is expected to double